Welcome to True Crime Cases Today. We are unveiling a shocking story. April 2011 saw the death of a 28-year-old. The discovery of Aurea in her Georgia apartment, California. An inquiry found that her relationship's startling past with married tech Jensen, CEO at Vanguard in April 2007. Innovation's El Camino headquarters. Actually, a sequence of events started that would eventually descend into treachery, obsession. The story starts with murder in April 2007 in Palo Alto's heart. Alan Jensen, 45, of California, is at the apex of his employment as Vanguard's CEO. His technological innovations have transformed business into a well-known brand, transforming the way companies and people keep information. Known for his Jensen's charisma and strategic acumen, life seems flawless to outsiders. He resides in a high-end, living in a suburban home with his spouse, Azealia, and Aurea, and their two adolescent children, 17, as well as Sean, 15. His reputation as a devoted husband, devoted father, and creative leader has won him respect in Silicon Valley. But underneath it, Alan's life is far from being ideal. Little time remains after endless effort for his family, generating sentimental Azealia, a former marketing executive who gave up her job for the family, is starting to feel. Once a vivacious and determined lady, she was secluded. She now dedicates her days to overseeing their home, going to charitable functions, and making an effort to get in touch with Alan, who appears progressively. She is preoccupied and realizes something is amiss, but is unable to pinpoint it exactly. Meanwhile, Alan is attracted to Aurea. Aurea is 28-year-old. Secretary Aurea was raised in a town in the Midwest, hoping to get away from the ordinary existence that she observed around her, worked diligently to obtain a business degree, and ultimately landing a job at the Vanguard. She is innovative, ferocious, and smart. Rapidly became Alan's crucial, yet underneath her polished appearance lies about a lady who is really insecure about Ria's place in the world. Relationships are transactional, and she is frequently blinded by desire to the repercussions of her behaviors that started her relationship with Alan as a strategic move, but it soon became into her. Early on in May 2007, Aurea's obsession, as her frustrations mount, she feels underappreciated at work and starts to notice Jensen as her means of accessing success. She collects graphic images of the action they took throughout their secret rendezvous in upscale lodging facilities and gathering. Aurea sets up a meeting with Jensen is sitting in his corner office. Vanguard's elegant glass, 17th floor, headquarters. The conflict is calculating. Aurea wearing a black suit conveys assurance, yet she's betrayed by shaking hands. Fear at first, Alan attempts to brush off, but as Aurea lays her out, requests a promotion to the position of vice president of marketing as well as a substantial compensation, get more composed, and starts to falter. She inserts a packet that has the pictures on his desk and the weight of her quiet. Alan's thoughts with implicit threats. The ramifications for races are disastrous in the event that these pictures were leaked. They wouldn't just ruin his union. They may destroy his business reputation that has been meticulously cultivated over decades. Would be Aurea, ruined, keeps a careful eye on him, being aware that she has the upper hand. Later that night, Alan withdraws to his office at home. Aurea's warnings are weighing heavily on him as he attempts to come up with a solution. His phone beeps with an unidentified. The email message includes one of the explicit images and only one sentence. This is just the start of Alan's heart sinks. Aurea isn't the only one responsible. The realization involves another person, makes him anxious, so he starts to Ask everyone in his immediate vicinity. Who else knows whether it's a member of the organization? Journalist. He dedicates the remainder of the unable to pace at night. By June 2007, Aria's needs for sleep have increased in size. Bold. She starts taking chances at pretending that her promotion is unavoidably. She displays her affiliation with Alan, quietly eroding his power. In meetings, Alan grows more. He stays away from Aria because he is paranoid. Feasible, yet she consistently finds methods to reminding him of her strength. She corners him. Above, Azalea observes the changes in him at home. Jensen is more reclusive and yells at her and the kids over trivial matters. She discovers him looking vacantly at his, making a late-night phone call, or leaving the house without justification. Azalea used to be understanding and patient. Begins to sense the fissures in their union deepen. She starts to put things together. Bits of information on a missing hotel. I received this late-night call. However, she lacks concrete there. Proof that her gut tells her Jensen is concealing anything while Aria is. Her actions grow increasingly unpredictable. Alan's passion grows more intense, and she starts to think of Azalea as an Ria's personal life begins disentangle. Her roommate Jenna Wallace observes Aria's tardiness and mood swings that becoming more unpredictable yet don't. Advocate for information. Aria keeps her secrets close to the vest, protected herself by withdrawing. Moreover, in July 2007, Vanguard Innovation's annual gala is held at Silicon attended dazzling event. The Valley's elite. Alan fears the night because he knows Aria will be present in her full form. Guarantees that she is the focus of attention. Donning a gorgeous crimson gown and being near Alan all night long. Her actions are audacious, nearly reckless, as she purposefully converses with him in hushed, her hand grazing his arm while they chat. Alan's efforts to put himself at a distance only appeared to give. Azalea was watching from the other side of the room. Observes the conversation, however subtle. Conversation validates her darkest suspicions that observes Aria lean too near. Chuckles too loudly at Jensen's tense. Tries. Ellen's chest tightens during the talk. Beneath her, betrayal and rage boiled. Composed outside. At the gala, she doesn't confront Alan, but dismisses the moment, knowing that she'll deal with it. After the ceremony, later that evening, Azalea awaits Alan in their spacious. The home is quiet in the kitchen, save for when he moves, the wall clock ticks. She doesn't say anything right away, allowing the strain. Construct the conflict is. Elena's voice trembles with explosiveness as she insists on the truth while Alan dodges. His remorse is clear from his avoidance of her eyes. The dispute intensifies with, at last, Alan rushed out, slamming the door behind. Azalea is left to deal with her rage alone. Swapped out for a sharp pain. Alan travels through melancholy without direction. Palo Alto streets, the burden of, under the weight of his double existence. He feels as though the walls are closing in, but, unable to prevent it, he parks in a vacant lot, gazing vacantly at the dashboard. His phone is buzzing once more. Tick-tock, an anonymous message emerges. The message's Alan time is running out. Validates his mounting concern that this isn't, roughly, Aria. Someone else is doing. The game of strings is very different from. In the morning of May, the 15th of 2011 started in Aria much like any other. Aria's peaceful residential building in. Early in the morning, Palo Alto, the sun rose. By way of the big windows, golden light. Neighbors of the contemporary building heard the buzz of coffee is one of the typical morning sounds. Doors of machines creaking open, and the far-off echo of the radio, but by 10 in the morning. Spooky. Ria's unit was immersed in quiet. Did her landlord inquire about a missed rent payment, who discovered that terrible Arya was dead in the middle of the scene? Her neck in her little living room was deep crimson blood, and a nasty slit gathered below her, discoloring the beige, broken glass from a carpet. Her corpse was surrounded by an overturned table, and several of her ornamental objects were lying. Broke the television on the floor. Flashed while the screen remained steady. Broken antenna twisted at a strange angle. Rear of iron in the residence, and Marcus Hart, a desperate detective, was, by 11:28 a.m., summoned to the site. Experienced investigator with more than 10 years of Marcus's wealth of experience was well known for his maintained composure despite cruel offenses as he walked inside the apartment. His practiced looking around the room concerning the scene didn't sit well with it. The conflict seemed chaotic, yet strange. Deliberate, as though someone had made an effort to make it appear as though there was no robbery. Ria's handbag was noticeably incorrect. Positioned close to the door had been cleared. However, her credit cards and pocketbook were not impacted by 280 p.m. The forensic group discovered DNA evidence beneath Ria's. After processing fingernails, the samples showed a match. Alan. The appearance of Jensen in Ria's apartment wasn't totally startling since their past, but the current situation portrayed him as more than just a previous surveillance film of a boyfriend from a nearby structure validated Jensen's. The vehicle had been parked close to Ria's apartment at 5 p.m., 11:45 p.m. the evening, prior to Detective Hart assembling the case's opening facts with careful attention to detail. Ria's neighbors claimed to have heard a late muted altercation in the darkness, then what sounded similar to glass. Shockingly, nobody contacted the police considering it to be a minor at the time. Domestic argument with a third-floor neighbor remembered seeing a towering, dark-clad guy coat departing the vicinity of Ria's flat midnight, but they were unable to verify his identification. By May 15th evening, Jensen was brought in for her. After being questioned, he reached the station, seeming pallid when wearing a rumpled, his typical composed business suit. Manner was swapped out for an uneasiness that Marcus realized right away when questioned regarding Ria's nail DNA. Given his proximity to her flat, Alan found it difficult to give precise responses. He said he was motivated by concerned about Ria's place following obtaining an anonymous email sooner that day, but maintained that he didn't go inside. Marcus pointed out the discrepancies in Jensen's account and the nuanced manner in which his, when pressed, hands shook. Further, by May 17, 2011, the case had become independent. The murder of Uriah dominated local news reports, and rumors concerning her connection with Jensen grew swiftly via Vanguard inventions, while Jensen continued to be the Detective Hart's chief suspect. He had a gut feeling there was more to the tale. The first significant innovation occurred from Maria's Jenna Wallace, roommate at the May 18th interrogation. Jenna disclosed disturbing information about Maria's last weeks. Uriah had become more frequently checking the locks twice out of paranoia, looking over her and on their door's shoulder when strolling. Jenna remembered Uriah saying at home that she had been receiving dangerous emails telling her to stay within her lane. Uriah had never revealed her identity, believed the sender was, but she was afraid of. Evident Jenna acknowledged that Uriah's tension had been caused by unpredictable behavior, separating them, making Jenna feel both worried and irritated by the detective. On May 20th, 2011, Hart's group discovered a confidential financial account associated with Azealia Jensen trades showed significant amounts of cash being taken out throughout the previous 3 months, with the latest withdrawal done late on May 14th. Prior to Aria's murder, the whole sum withdrawn more than $50,000, an amount that immediately raised. Azalea was hauled in for suspicions of. Azalea arrived to the station to be questioned on May 21st, calm, but clearly, her eyes were tight and filled with fatigue, and her stance was rigid. During the questioning, she acknowledged having faced Aria face to face a few days before to her passing. She detailed the getting together to try to reason with, convince Aria to put an end to the. Azalea's calm tone revealed her adultery, the intensity of her rage, and treachery. She described how Aria had dismissed her entreaties, making fun of Azalea for. Azalea's helpless situation was rejected. Any role in the killing of Aria, but couldn't adequately explain the substantial sum of money withdrawals, stating that the funds were intended to engage a private detective to assemble proof of Jensen's adultery, together with Aria's alterations, but the timing of the withdrawals sparked inquiries, and her confession regarding Aria's confrontation brought even another level of intricacy to the heart. The case detective started to see Aria had been at the heart of a trend, a network of deceit that controls Alan and provoking Azalea and the two individuals. Aria's closest companion had the strongest reasons behind her demise. Jensen's DNA and being close to the murder scene indicated Azalea's financial activities, however, and she was painted by her admission of confrontation as a similarly believable suspect. As investigator Hart probed further into the situation, the psychological impact on the Azalea's Jensen relatives became apparent. Steadily maintained poise started to break under the pressure of the public. Consequently, she stopped attending social gatherings, staying away from the critical stairway of their rich Palo Alto. Sean, the Jensen and Aria neighbors, children found themselves in the crossfire, pondering the consequences of their behaviors that both teens found difficult. The increasing rumors regarding their mother's and father's affairs, possible role in Aria's death. In the meanwhile, Alan discovered, isolated once Vanguard's face breakthroughs. He became a guy whose every relocated beneath microscope. His coworkers separated. Both his board of directors and themselves started to doubt his leadership. Jensen stayed up late, recreating the sequence of events that preceded. His thoughts were captivated with Aria's murder, guilt, dread, and perplexity. By May 25th, in 2011, the lawsuit reached a Detective Hart from Crossroads was aware of the upcoming discovery might implicate either Azalea or Alan, or disclose a whole different. Believed the pieces of the puzzle were starting to blend in, yet the image they painted was far more intricate than anybody expected. The murder to occur by July 2011. Jensen's trial turned into the most Silicon Valley's sensational legal incident. Had not seen the courtroom in years. Filled every day with interested reporters, locals, and legal professionals observing. Closer, Alan is now noticeably worn out and haggard. Occupied the defense table with his prominent lawyer Robert Lang. The prosecution, under the direction of the district attorney, Margaret Nealon, gave a devastating testimony. Story: Alan murdered Aria in order to safeguard his professional image and deteriorating personal life. The foundation of the prosecution's case was circumstantial data that demonstrated an image of a desperate. They highlighted Jensen's presence, Guy, on the evening of Aria's apartment, the homicide, and the DNA evidence discovered beneath her. Additionally, prosecutors emphasized fingernails, Aria's awareness of Jensen's secrets, claiming that her threats and blackmail led to a severe breaking point for him. Margaret Neal's cool, collected, she argued, because of her presentation. Convincing, but not. Jensen's defense squad battled airtight. Return indicating the absence of direct proof. Robert Lang contended that Allen lacked a violent past and questioned the reliability of the surveillance footage, indicating that it was. Lang also implied that it was at best circumstantial. Thought others were more motivated to cause damage. Arya indicating Azalea in a subtle way. Jensen without naming. Jensen was portrayed as a victim by his team. A guy ensnared by Arya's machinations, by his own faults. But he wasn't a killer. Although the public was enthralled with the trial, Marcus Hart, the detective, kept up his job. Unconvinced behind the scenes of Jensen's, Hart's perseverance by August 2011, despite his remorse, compensated him when he discovered a removed email that came from Arya's account, dated May 13, 2011, 2 days before to her homicide, was sent to an unidentified recipient, and alluded to a deep D. Arya wrote about being betrayed, influence on several men, and her schemes. In order to rectify the situation, Hart located the Jenna Wallace was the receiver of the email. Arya's Jenna, my roommate, had been a mysterious presence, cooperated during the inquiry, yet seldom providing much. When hauled in for interrogation, insight, once more, Jenna initially upheld her innocence, yet her facade was pressured. Act in which she acknowledged Arya had been extorting many guys in addition to Allen, adding a different Vanguard executive, innovations that are cost-effective, and Jenna's disclosure of the strain Ria's behavior had put there. Ria's friendship had turned shady, cunning, and careless, placing their once strong connection to the test. Jenna acknowledged having learned about Ria's extortion plot only a few weeks before to her homicide, and their arguments about it had intensified. Aggressively warm, but Jenna denied having everything related to Ria's demise, but a fresh depth was added by her admittance. Considering the case's complexity and the trial hit the highest point in September 2011, Azalea Jensen stood up when it was expected that testimony would be among the most dramatic parts of the trial, and it didn't let Azalea down by wearing a subdued gray outfit. Suit seemed calm yet emotionally. The prosecution summoned her testify on Jensen's conduct hoping her on the night of Aria's murder account would strengthen their chronology. Azalea started off by describing the May 14th events. In 2011, Jensen stormed out of their house during a heated dispute. She explained his unpredictable. The way they behaved caused friction in their marriage. Considering her mounting misgivings over his infidelity, her calm demeanor changed as she showed a shocking assert that she had seen Allen go. Late that evening, in Aria's apartment, the jurors leaned as the courtroom erupted. Reporters scrawled frantically, and Jensen's defense group switched. Azalea's words appeared to cause nervous looks. To verify Jensen's attendance at the crime scene scenario, but the defense caught on right away. Discrepancies in her account amid cracks in cross-examination. Azalea's story started to reveal that she found it difficult to remember some information, and her chronology of events was out of sync flawlessly with other evidence presented by the defense. Azalea was clouded by her rage and betrayal, judgment that cast doubt on her. Detective Hart's probe into testimony came to a spectacular end when he reviewed in late September 2011 CCTV footage taken in a parking lot. The video was taken close to Aria's residence. Improved and examined through forensic experts identified a person departing constructing little after 12:15 a.m. on the murder's night. Jenna, not Allen, was the individual. Additionally, Wallace Hart found passages between Arya and Jenna on the days preceding the murder and disclosing growing hostilities between the two. Confronted with indisputable proof, Jenna returned to the room for her, doubting her poise this time entirely. Eventually, she admitted to murder. Oriya was furious after learning the full scope of her. Jenna explained the betrayals she had accosted Oriya in their flat Friday evening, requesting an explanation for her deceit and the damage she caused, led the dispute to rapidly worsen. In the heat of the moment, Jenna, violence, retrieved a kitchen knife and assaulted Oriya. Jenna's disclosure was honest, and she acknowledged with passion that her confidence had been broken by treachery, and that years of angry suppression, and, at last, the frustration had bubbled over. Jenna stated that she hadn't meant to murder Oriya, but became alarmed following the fatal strike that sets up the situation to seem similar to a robbery in an effort to conceal